In this next example, first thing we look for is our parent function. It's cosine x. Now let's analyze it. This 4 in front tells us our amplitude is 4. Technically, there's a 1 in front of this x, so our period is 2 pi over 1, or 2 pi. Adding pi over 4 to our x shifts it left pi over 4 units, and adding 4 on the end shifts it up 4 units. So we have our transformations here. So let me figure out the endpoints of the first period. So normally we would start at 0, but we're shifting left pi over 4. So that means we're going to be at negative pi over 4. Normally we would end at our period of 2 pi, but since we're shifting left pi over 4, that's going to be 8 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, 7 pi over 4. Now, another thing we need to keep in mind is that we're shifting up 4 units as we start our sketch. So with my axis here, this is going to be negative pi over 4, and I'm going to go over here to 7 pi over 4. Now, excuse me, in order to find the middle, I'm going to do the average of these two. That'll be 6 pi over 4 over 2, which is 6 pi over 8, 3 pi over 4. I'm doing that work in my head. Now, to find the midpoint of these two, that's going to be 2 pi over 4 over 2, which is 2 pi over 8, which is going to be pi over 4, not drawn to scale. And then the middle of these two is going to be 10 pi over 4 over 2, 10 pi over 8, which is going to be 5 pi over 4. So you might have to show that work for yourself. We'll see. So now, since we're shifting up 4 units, that means our 0 line is actually going to be up here at 1, 2, 3, 4. So our zeros are actually going to cross this line, which is at 4. And no, my amplitude is 3, so I need to be able to go up 3 from there to 7. All right, now I've got everything I need to start sketching this curve. So it's cosine, no reflection. So instead of I'm going to start up here at 7. Then I'm going to hit 0 here. I'm going to come down here 3 more, come back up to 0 here, and then hit here. So this point is negative pi over 4, 7. This point here is 3 pi over 4, 1. And this point is 7 pi over 4, 7. So this is my first period, not drawn to scale. The labeling is really what's more important. So now I need to find the end of the second period. So that is going to be 7 pi over 4 plus another 2 pi, which is 7 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4, which is 15 pi over 4. So I'm going to jump here and make this 15 pi over 4. extend this. So remember, you might have to do some math to find these middle points, right? So halfway in between, that's 22 pi over 4 over 2, 22 pi over 8, 11 pi over 4. Halfway between these two, 19 pi over 4 over 2. I'm sorry, 18 pi over 4 over 2. 18 pi over 8 is 9 pi over 4. I'm doing that in my head. Here, this is 26 pi over 4 over 2. 26 pi over 8. 13 pi over 4. So I don't expect you to show the work that I showed in the last video. So now I'm going back down to 0, here to my minimum, back up to my 0 here, and up here. So this point is 11 pi over 4, 1. This is 15 pi over 4, 7. And our curves for my second period goes through here. This is not drawn to scale.